Hello, Cotty here. Today we're going to talk about our Slayer Static Strike Autobomber. Let's go ahead and take a look at some maps and a boss. Hello, Cotty here. Today we're going to go over our Slayer Autobomber. This is a Static Strike Shockwave build. We're going to do a T17 map with breaches on it just because density is more fun to watch than sparse T17 maps are. So let's get in here and rip it up. Playstyle is fairly straightforward. You're just going to ambush to targets. You're going to static strike the target, and then that's going to give you a buff that lasts, I think we have it scaled up to 5 seconds. And then that buff is just going to delete everything around you. As you can see, it does really good damage. We're not even really getting a chance to get our ambush off half the time because our aura kills them on accident. And so normally we would do more damage than this, but I mean, we're limited by the fact that everything is dying too fast. And so as far as clear goes, it does very well. We've got double explosions either through the Bismuth Blast or through the Devastator cluster jewel, so plenty of explosions. We're going to ignore that shrine right there. We are reverse chill, so tons of move speed, up to 230% move speed before switching over to any kind of move speed tattoos or anything like that. And so very, very zoomy. And you're basically just going to run around and hit stuff about once every 5 seconds. You can use a tincture if you want a little bit better damage. Static Strike does snapshot. So you can turn your tincture on and then static strike and then turn it off, and then you'll maintain the buff from that tincture for the entire time period of the static strike, even though the tincture itself is off, which is the same thing we're doing with ambush. We're ambushing and then static striking so that we maintain the ambush for the entire duration of static strike, including the shockwave, which is why we do run a little bit of skill effect to maintain some high uptimes on these snapshotting buffs that we can do. Now, as far as bossing goes, we're an okay bosser. It does not have amazing single target. The ambush has a long enough cooldown that you're not going to be able to keep it up all of the time versus the bosses. But we can have relatively high uptime on the bosses, on this ambush buff from Static Strike. We're just waiting for Tentacle Fiends to go away. In we go. For bossing, you're going to want to Vol Smite, Curse. If you have Vol Haste active, use Vol Haste. As you can see, it's pretty solid DPS. It's not instantly deleting anything, but these bosses go down fast. We accidentally killed Dodri, so now we got to kill Chevron from her full health. These monoliths massively lower your damage, so if you get a chance to kill one or two of them, you probably should. This one over here makes you take less damage, or makes you take more damage, I think. Make sure you are punishing the boss. It gives us a buff that makes us take less damage. Or it puts a debuff on him that makes you take less damage. And then whenever he gets low health, obviously, it makes him take more damage. As far as tankiness goes, I mean, we stand in mostly anything. So very, very solid build. Let's go take a look at the POB. Let's take a look at items first for our reverse chill static strike Autobomber. Your weapon is going to be an alternating scepter. This is important because we're using Secrets of Suffering to scale damage on the build. And this prevents us from having to use a jewel socket and a small cluster jewel, which saves us a passive point and an open jewel socket. So you want to get an alternating scepter. Now this one was poorly crafted, but it's just an easy craft. It's essence, Wrath, Deafening Essence spam until you hit attack speed and global crit multi. And then annul off a prefix for hits can't be evaded. There's more complicated crafts for this weapon. It can be significantly better. You can craft up to something like this, which is T1 Lightning with Global Crit Multi, and Unveiled Global Crit Multi with Zealed Essence and Crusader Slammed Pin. And then hits can't be evaded, can be crafted on there. But you can follow the crafting guide that I have up for a lightning sword. It's the exact same concept. You're just doing it on a scepter instead. For a shield, we are doing a shield that has high block, high life, and some resistances on it potentially, as well as recover % life when you block, either as a implicit on a synthesized item or as a shaper shield affix. On our helmet, we are running just a life resistances helmet. I've got, a little bit of spell suppression spammed in everywhere here. You want to make sure that you're getting spell suppression where you can. It's not hard to capture spell suppression, but just keep it on all of your gear. It doesn't necessarily have to be max rolls. For our body armor, I'm running a traditional Cyclone body armor because that's what I had crafted and available, and it's good armor. The additional curse gives us access to punishment. In addition to our mark, the socketed attacks have a minus mana cost, which means that we don't have to worry about mana recovery or mana regen since we're not continuously attacking. A mana leech is a little on the sketchy side. And then the additional crit that comes with the cyclone armor is really just a nice add-on on top. If you were to craft this armor on your own, I would probably skip over worrying about the crit. We're way over crit cap on the build anyway, and so you would just need the additional curse and the socketed attacks. You can also buy these armors for very, very cheap as failed crafts from other Cyclone builds. Our gloves are temple modded gloves with life and attack speed. Our boots are just basically resistances and move speed. We have a Yoke of Suffering. Make sure it has at least 10% increased damage for each type of ailment. We have a 48% increased elemental damage taming. We have a Winter Weave, Archon's Tools, and a Prismatic Tincture, preferably with either crit multi or damage penetrates. Attack speed doesn't benefit us as much because we are not spamming attacks most of the time we're playing. We have an Orias End for clear, a Diamond Flask, a Quicksilver Flask, and a Silver Flask. We have some generic damage jewels, a large cluster that has Calamitous Devastator for explosions and martial prowess, a Lethal Pride that carries Rage and Intimidate on hit, a Light of Meaning for chaos res, and then another generic damage Crimson Jewel. You can get these with resistance as you need as fillers, extra life, things like that. These are just generic jewels to increase the strength of your character. Now, if you're looking at the spreadsheet and you're trying to figure out which of these jewels to get, you can always go trade for items, find best, execute the search, and follow the link to good jewels that are available for your character. The link that it's going to generate is a weighted sum search, and so you'll adjust the weight of the search to something that fits your budget. So you can find good generic jewels to get for the character. Now, as far as skills go, we are running Flame Dash for movement, Assassin's Mark and Mark on hit, Ambush and Second Wind for massive scaling on our Static Strike for clear, Blood Rage for additional attack speed. We're running Summon Skitterbots with Unbound Ailments, Bone Chill, and Awaken Increased Area of Effect. The Summon Skitterbots works with Archon's Tools to reverse Chillus, and then Winterweave reverses the effect of Chill. So we chill ourselves with Archon's Tools and Skitter, and then we reverse the effect of Chill for Winterweave. This is how we get tremendous amounts of move speed in the build, as well as attack speed for single target, so don't overlook that. We're running Tempest Shield with Blood and Sand and Flesh and Stone. We are sitting in Sand Stance for the additional area of effect, as well as the reduced damage taken. You could do Blood Stance for a small increase in damage, but it's not worth it. Flesh and Stone is a wonderful defense, and we are nearly screen tall AoE on the Shockwave, as you can see in the video. So these are definitely good options here. Static Strike is with Volatility, Pulverize, Fortify, Awaken, Increased Area of Effect, and Shockwave. If you have Fortify from another source, you don't have to run Fortify here. And if you need more single target, you don't have to run Increased Area of Effect. You could run any other support gem in here. The most powerful support gem based on this build right now would be Multi-Strike. And so you would run Multi-Strike instead of Awaken, Increased Area of Effect if you needed more single target damage. Vol Haste and Vol Smite for cooldowns, punishment for damage, and more duration. We do have more duration for Vol Smite and Vol Haste, as well as on our tree we have skill duration. So these end up being 15 or 16 second Vol Smite, 10-second Vol Haste, giving us nearly 100% uptime on Vol Smite and very, very good uptime on Vol Haste. And that is how we're going to set up our skills here. We do have the separate skill setup for the beam damage. This is just to include the beam damage in our total DPS on the character down here. As you can see, we do 34 million DPS while spamming melee hits, 16 million DPS for beams, 12 million DPS for shockwaves, and then 7 million cold DPS, giving us a total of 71 million DPS for single target. Now, as you're rushing around the map, you're really only hitting things with the occasional melee hit and beams and shockwaves. So this 28 million DPS plus coal is what is clearing the map for you. And then static strikes and melee hits are really only coming in versus large tanky targets. Now for our passive tree, this is a very, very traditional Slayer tree. We're going to take every frenzy charge on the tree. We're going to take every life node on the tree. We're going to take enough spell suppression to cap spell suppression. We're going to take crit bleed wheel here, crit wheel here. And then we're also going to move up towards Mage Bane and Duration Mastery. Now this is the last thing that you would take on the build, and arguably it is just a quality of life. Static Strike's buff as we're running around lasts 3 seconds. With these nodes right here, it lasts over 5 seconds. It just means you don't have to press Static Strike as often. If you needed damage, you could pull these down here and come up into like Assured Strike, which is a great increase in damage, or pick up Monsters Cannot Block Your Attacks, which would assist you with blocking monsters or maps that have monsters that block. And there's other damaging nodes that you could take. The Forces of Nature wheel over here is good as well. But this is such a good quality of life that I did want to include it in the build. Now we do also have phasing here, which is not typical since we are like dashing through large groups of mobs. We want phasing on kill and freedom of movement to give us more mobility with our clear without getting stuck on creatures. And then non-traditionally, since we are using a mace, we move over here and take Ribcage Crusher along the outside of the wheel for all the increased area of effect. So this is how we're going to get the build put together. The items are pretty straightforward. Skills are pretty straightforward. Tree is pretty straightforward. But if you have any questions over anything, come by Twitch or come by YouTube and ask. I'm happy to help. Thank y'all very much for watching. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.